Today I'm going to build a surfboard rack. That's what we're going to use this for. But really you could use this rack for anything, storing fishing poles, anything that's not too heavy like body boards, maybe kayak paddles, things like that. I will have a material list that you can find on my website if you want to build this. And I'm building this with 2x4 material that you can get at any home store. I've taken some time and milled the material so it looks a little bit nicer. You don't have to do that, but it definitely does look a little bit nicer. Once I finish building the rack, I'm going to install it on a cinder block wall. So if you've never done anything like that before, you might want to check that out. I've already cut what I'm calling the back of the rack to size. Now I'm going to move on to the dowels. These are 1 1/8 by 36 inches long. I'll set up a stop block on the chop saw and cut them all at 17 inches. Now I'm going to measure and mark where I'll need to drill holes for the dowels. And this is really going to depend on whatever it is you're storing on the rack. We're storing surfboards, and the fins on the surfboards really are just about 6.5, 7 inches from the bottom of the board. So 8 inches between dowels should be more than enough. I'll measure down 4 inches. That will be the top of the rack. And that will be my first mark, or my first hole. And then from there, I'll measure down every 8.5 inches. Now I'm using a combination square to transfer the measurement onto the other 2x4. Next I'll use the drill press with an 1 1/8 paddle bit to drill the holes. Now I'm using a 1/2 inch Forstner bit to countersink the mounting hardware. And I'll drill through the countersink hole with a 5/32 straight bit. The next step is to use a little wood glue and pound the dowels into the holes. And to make that a little bit easier, I'm going to use a utility knife and soften the edge of the dowel up just a little bit. And always clean up any of the glue squeeze out with a wet rag before it has a chance to set up. I let the glue set up for about an hour, and now I'm going to apply 2 coats of a water-based polyurethane. I'll apply the first coat, let it dry for about an hour, then lightly sand it and apply the second coat. Okay, so I let the finish set up overnight, and now I'm going to install the rack on a cinder block wall. I'll use a level. I've got 6 2.5 inch long by 1/4 inch Tapcon screws. These screws are specially designed for screwing into masonry. I'm using a 3/16 inch masonry drill bit in my drill, and I've set the drill to the hammer drill setting. That basically makes the drill pulsate while it's drilling, and it makes drilling into concrete or masonry a lot easier. I've got my impact driver, and I'll use some adhesive caulk for a little insurance. I'm setting up where the rack will go on the wall. Now you don't need a laser level for this project, but it definitely makes it easier, and I have one, so I may as well use it. I've got a laser line on the wall, and I'm going to use tape and put tape on the laser line, and when I set the rack on the wall, I'll make sure that the bottom of the rack is held at the tape. We'll get the bottom screw in, and then we'll level it. over to the left a little bit. That looks good. Nice. Well, you might have noticed that I did add an extra bar during the build, and that's because I had a little extra room on the 2x4, so I thought I'd add an extra bar. And we'll probably use this for hanging up wetsuits or wet shirts. Maybe we can fit a skim board on the bottom shelf. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.